Hi, I'm Jennifer Nicely with Pinnacle Real Estate Academy. Today is part 2 on compensation agreements and what you can and cannot do. So we have talked about compensation agreements in the past and who is supposed to sign this, who is required by law to sign it, and per NAR's settlement changes in the guidelines and regulations, who is supposed to sign it. So in the past videos, we have talked about co-broke shares. If a listing agent is sharing a portion of their compensation with the buyer's agent, then it would go on the compensation agreement, and either the listing broker in charge or the buyer's broker in charge or their corresponding agents underneath them, the listing agent and the buyer's agent, are allowed to sign that document. Now, we've also talked about if your buyer is looking to purchase a for sale by owner and the seller of the for sale by owner is willing to help pay for a buyer's agent's compensation. In that particular case, you would check the seller and you would have the buyer's brokerage firm on there. And then either the buyer's agent or the BIC would sign that along with the seller. We've also talked in another video about bonuses, buyer agency bonuses, and who would sign in that case. But today we are going to talk about a completely different concept and strategy. You may have heard some people talking about this online, and you may have said, that's illegal. You can't do that. But reality is, as long as it aligns with a different kind of paperwork, it is legal and they can do this. So let's say that I'm a listing agent and I am listing a seller's property. And the seller says, I'm not paying a buyer's agent's compensation. I am not going to help, and I do not want you to co-broke share your part of your commission. So the way we fill out that listing agency agreement is the total compensation paid by the seller would be X, whatever I charge, whatever it is you charge. Then when they get to the second paragraph that talks about how much of that total number are you going to pay and co-broke share to a buyer's agent, and you put 0 in there. Now, we sign this listing agreement and we do not offer buyer's agency compensation. Now, we put the house on the market and a buyer's agent brings a buyer. And when they make an offer on this property, the buyer's agent and buyer also present a compensation agreement asking the seller to help pay for some of the buyer's compensation. In this particular case, if the seller says, you know what, based on their offer, I have some room to play with, I'll be glad to help pay for this expense so that they can have more cash at closing. And so the seller says, yes, I will help pay for the buyer's agent's compensation. And in that particular case, the seller would be paying the buyer's brokerage firm directly. Now, when I say directly, it's still on the closing disclosure or the HUD statement. So this is not under the table directly. It still has to go through your closing. But that is legal for the seller to sign that compensation agreement and the buyer's brokerage firm signing the same compensation agreement. That is legal because the listing agency agreement said we are not going to co-broke share. And because they did not agree to a co-broke share, it's not the listing agent paying the buyer's agent or their firms paying each other. It would be directly from the seller. So that would be legal. That would be okay. Keep in mind, there's a ton of noise out there. There's a lot of people from multiple states talking and arguing with each other. A lot of people from multiple brokerages arguing with each other. And here's the thing, as long as you follow the law and you follow the NAR regulations and you follow your broker office policy, you can do it. This is all about strategy to help assist the consumer. It's not manipulative strategy. This is legal stuff. It's strategy to help your consumer have the cash they need to close on the property. And as long as it is agreed to by both parties, you're good to go. So keep in mind, every brokerage firm may be doing this different. They may advise you to do it different. I know when I go out and practice, every single one of my transactions is going to be handled differently because it is in what is in the best interest of my client. So if you hear people out there going, the seller has to sign it, the broker in charge has to sign it, the listing agent has to sign it, they are all correct as long as it aligns with your broker office policy and your agency agreement you've already had signed. Now keep in mind, you do not need a compensation agreement if you have a situation where my seller pays me, the listing agent, and the buyer pays the buyer's agent directly. As long as there's no co-broke share that's crossing paths, as long as we aren't making any more than what they've already agreed that we can make in the agency agreement, we're good to go. You don't have to have a compensation agreement. It would be covered in the agency agreement. I'm going to be doing videos on all kinds of topics that are covered in the NAR settlement right now and all the issues and changes that you guys are having to make in the market. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that today because it will notify you the next time I put out another video. We try to put out videos every 2 or 3 days. So follow us to stay up to date. Things are changing on a daily basis and you want to be up to date at all times. If you have any questions, comment below. We're always here at Pinnacle Real Estate Academy to help. And if you're interested in any of our post-NAR settlement landscape changes and how to pivot through the industry, we're offering classes on this all the time. We give you all kinds of strategies and go into detail about those strategies because there's not one way to handle this. Again, if you have questions, reach out to us. We're always here to help.